So far this week, I have avoided talking about the situation in Gaza, and partly that's because the things I might have said have largely been said elsewhere very articulately. Things like expressing sympathy for those affected by the violence and calling for peace. I have also seen a lot of people wanting to put the situation into a broader historical, political, and social context. And that's absolutely legitimate and understandable and helpful because in order to prevent these kind of situations, we have to understand why it arose in the first place and why that region is so contested and why so much has been going on there. However, it does seem like on some social media and in a lot of the mainstream media, this has then turned into a discussion about what further violence or further murderous sanctions are justified. And I think we really have to kind of freeze frame that a little bit because in the history of conflict, everybody on every side has always thought that whatever their side is doing is justified. That is the nature of these things. People don't actually go to war shouting, I think we're the bad guys, let's go cause problems. The reality is that people always can find a context in which they think that they are on the side of truth and justice. And what we have to understand is that being on the side of truth and justice does not justify violence. The reality is that when we frame this as a situation that exists between Israel and Palestine, that's almost fascistic in the way that it defines people by their ethnicity, their culture, and their religion, rather than the much more important way of defining people, which is to say that 99% of people want peace. And there is a tiny, tiny minority of people who don't want peace. And that's where the division should lie between us who want peace and that tiny percentage who don't. Because the reality is that you are better off to have peace without all of the conditions that you wanted with it. You are better off having peace with the border in the wrong place. You are better off having peace with the wrong person in power. You are better off having peace in a set of circumstances that aren't exactly what you wanted. And from there, you can start to negotiate, or you can move, or you can try to change things around. As soon as we enter a situation of war, all of that negotiation becomes impossible, and the only thing that war does is kill people. If we want to have peace, then we have to de-escalate. And that means that we have to not take violent and murderous action, even when we might believe that that action is justified by the historical, political, social context of what is going on. We can't, it is not enough to say, well, we're the good guys and so the bad guys need to start offering peace. Everybody has to step forward and offer peace. And I mean that with reference to what's going on in Ukraine. I mean that with reference to what's going on in loads and loads of other contexts around the world. Peace is the only way forward, and it is totally achievable. It is 2023. There are better ways of resolving these conflicts in this day and age. And I wanted to kind of finish this, it seemed appropriate, by quoting a part of a song by the brilliant comedian Peter Buckley Hill. And I expect that many of you are familiar with Peter's work, and if not, well, you really should be, because he's been around for decades writing brilliant comedy on all kinds of subjects. And I've been very lucky to work with him a number of times over the years. In 2006, he decided to write a song for every single month of the year. And in March of 2006, the genocidal dictator Slobodan Milosevic died, and he wrote a song about that called Slobodan Milosevic is Dead. And whenever I've worked with Peter, I have always requested this song and told him that it's my favourite because I absolutely love it. And what I really love it for is the final verse, which I'm going to quote to you. The final verse says this: "But Slobodan Milosevic ain't dead, because nor are the ideas in his head. As long as there are nations ruled by ethnic segregations, Slobodan Milosevic ain't dead. Catholics and Muslims and Jews can get along together if they choose. Tear down the Israeli fence and let's see common sense, and only really then can it be said that Slobodan Milosevic is dead." So thanks to Peter Buckley Hill for that, and I will see you next week. Increasingly, the mainstream media is terrible at informing the public of what is really going on. I'm only able to make these videos because people are generous enough to sponsor me making them, and if you're able to be a part of that, I would hugely appreciate it. It can cost as little as $1 a month, and you'll get loads of fun bonus content and lots of extras from me, and my undying gratitude. I also massively appreciate it if you're able to like, share these videos and let people out there know what's going on.